When you're talking about cornerstone hit rate in rookie drafts, the 107 is actually no different than the 203. So theoretically, you could trade down from the 107 in your rookie drafts, trade to the 203, get more on top, and have the same likelihood, according to data that we've gathered, the same likelihood of hitting on a cornerstone asset in that range. Yes, it's true. What we did, and by we, I mean our guy Chip, who works with us over at Domain. So he's on the research team. Shout out Chip for all of this data that he gathered, game theory stuff. This is incredible, guys. This is our strategy this year because it's so good. And let's put this on the screen, the general rookie picks chart. So this is just charting rookie picks. This is data from 2016 all the way through 2021. We did a couple year cutoff here, I'm assuming, because you can really only determine if somebody is a cornerstone asset like 1 or 2 years after they've played for a while. So 2016 to 2021, and these are divided into 3 categories: hits, misses, and elite picks. Hits are considered dynasty assets, startable dynasty assets for at least 2 years, or currently are a running back 1 or 2, a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3, or quarterback 1 or 2 in value in Dynasty. Elite means that they had at least one top 5 season, okay, and they maintained their high value for 3 years. Okay, so with that in mind, look at this chart. This is for rookie picks. Let's look at this buy round. In round 1, a 70% startable rate. 70% of the guys you're drafting in round 1 are startable. When you go to round 2, that drops to 33%. So it's about half. You would expect that. And then about 25% in round 3. Some interesting stuff there, but let's keep going. The elite rate in round 1 is 45% and drops significantly from round 1 to round 2, but then hardly a drop off from round 2 to 3. The cornerstone, this is interesting. The cornerstone goes from 7 of 12 cornerstone guys on average every year to a quarter to a 12th. Okay? So let's break this out by position now and talk about running backs versus wide receivers. We're going to give you all this data, and we're going to tell you how to use this in your rookie draft specifically this year. So when you're talking about running backs specifically, a startable dynasty running back in this data set is going to be the running back 30 or better for at least 2 years, or a top 24 running back now. So the startable rate by round for running backs. Let's do this. The top 4 is going to be separate from the 105 through 112. So the top 4, 80%.
Jeez.
That's, first of all, that's staggering. That essentially
crazy.
says that if you have a running back that's being drafted in the top 4 of Dynasty rookie drafts, they are almost guaranteed to be somebody that you're starting. 60% of them are elite, and 75% of them are cornerstone assets. Cornerstone being a dynasty asset you build your team around, right?
Wow.
Talk about the 105 through the 112, though, because this is really interesting, because we're going to have running backs most likely 105 to 112 this year, with Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks are one of them.
Yeah, so the startable rate for that range is going to be 45% compared to the entirety of round 2 being 30%. That's just a 15% drop off, with the elite rate in the mid to late first being 15% versus the second round 10%, and the cornerstone rate being 1 and 3 in that late first round range versus 1 and 5 in the second round. So honestly, when you're talking about price and just general value there, I mean, I'm liking my shots in the second round more than I am the first, just when it comes to investments and risk there.
Yeah.
So that I think that's really interesting. The cornerstone rate doesn't drop off in the third round either. It's still 1 in 5 at the cornerstone level. The elite rate in the third round actually goes up from 10 to 12%.
So what does that tell you? It means that running backs this year in the second round and in the third round should pretty much be viewed exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same, okay?
And if you're taking or considering a running back who's going consensus ADP-wise in the 105 to 112 range, you should probably be trading back to get a significant package on top.
Yes. Yeah. Which again, we've talked about this all offseason. It's culminated to this point.
Yeah.
Let's move to wide receivers now. Wide receivers, startable wide receivers are wide receiver 40 or better for the last 2 years, or a current top 36 wide receiver. Elite wide receiver is a wide receiver 10 or higher season, and wide receiver 40 or better for at least 2 more years on top of that. So that's a lot to that's a pretty big set of standards there to meet. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. So this is interesting.
This is probably the most fascinating finding.
Remember, the top 4 of running backs drafted in the top 4, 80% of them were startable. Of wide receivers drafted in the top 4 of Dynasty rookie drafts in this time span, 50% of them were startable. 50, that's half. 40% of them turned out to be elite, and half of them were cornerstones. So you're talking about, in a year, this year, where we have 3 guys that could go top 4 at any given moment in these drafts. Historically, the hit rate for wide receivers taken in that range over a 6-7 year sample size is 1/2. Okay, let's keep going. When you go down to the 105 through the 112, so the rest of the first round, you will notice that the startable rate drops 5%. The elite rate drops 5%. Jeez. The cornerstone drops a 1/12. So what does this tell you? And this is one of the main things that you should be taking away from this video. Wide receivers. The top 4 for wide receivers is less valuable because only about half of them become cornerstones compared to running back, where it's about 3/4. However, the rest of the first round is almost exactly the same. It's safe to say that any and all wide receivers taken in the first round are a coin flip to become a cornerstone, no matter where they're taken. Running backs are very top heavy. Getting into the second round, when you look at that, wide receivers have a better cornerstone rate than that of running backs. The elite rate is pretty much identical to running backs. So this tells us if you're looking for an elite cornerstone, take the best profile available. However, if what you need is a startable asset, you should look for receivers, as they're going to give you more depth. Okay? So, again, looking at the round 2, round 3, you'll notice from round 2, the startable rate doesn't drop at wide receiver position. Doesn't drop at all. The elite rate drops. Okay? So you're definitely wanting to get elite wide receivers in the first round. But if you're looking for depth, startable wide receivers are found at just as high a rate in the second round as they are in the first.
So let's do a little practical application here. Okay. I want to start putting some names to these picks, into these theories, because I think this is important for us as we go into this year's rookie draft with this stacked wide receiver class, with this running back class that, in my opinion, is a little underrated, and a pretty solid quarterback class, at least. Pretty solid.
Yes, at least.
Let's start with the running backs. We have been notable fans, notable horn tooters for Trey Benson. Big time. Trey Benson are easily top 2 running back in this rookie class.
Benson and Brooks, baby.
Benson and Brooks.
2 Bs.
If Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks get good enough draft capital and a good enough landing spot where they move up boards into the 105 to 112 range, I think I'm trading back.
We're moving back. We're not drafting them there, right? Because when you're looking at the running back data from this time frame, and you're looking at the difference between the 105 and 112 and round 2, it is marginal.
Mm-hmm. And this obviously, there's a lot that has yet to be seen with all these landing spots and what ends up happening. But again, theoretical, and this applies to every single draft class from here on out. Let's move over to wide receiver.
Yeah. So wide receiver
this is huge for us.
It's interesting because basically what this screams to me when I'm looking at between the top 4 and the 105 and 112 here, when I'm seeing the very marginal drop off, what this screams to me is that you should be down tiering from that top 4 pick, which we have told you all offseason. And now we have the hard data to support that down tiering. You have just as good a chance to get an elite cornerstone wide receiver at 105 to 112 as you do top 4. That applies to this year. That means you should trade down. If you need receiver, you should trade down and you should take a receiver in the 1.5, 1.12 range. Not to mention, this year, you're going to get an elite receiver there. An elite receiver named Rome Odunze. To me, as soon as I saw this, I saw Rome Odunze. That's what I saw.
Throw the prospect profiles away. Throw the elite of the elite labels away with Marvin Harrison Jr., with Malik Neighbors, who are most likely both going to go top 4. Throw all of that away. Throw your personal opinion away. And based on these findings, based on this historical proven data, there is no difference between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze.
Their hit rate, if this is where they're being drafted in Dynasty Rookie Drafts, their hit rate is identical. Dang near identical. That's guys, this is 6-7 years worth of data. Let's look at the average cornerstone rate by pick and take a look at this graph. This is one of the most telling things in all of this research that Chip did. Top 6 picks, as you can see by that top circle there, are elite. They have a cornerstone rate of above 70%. Okay, so when you're looking at, that goes from 1 to 3 to 4 to 6 there, and it stays. There's a range. Boom. So they're elite. They should be treated as such. Both things can be true. Positionally, it can be smart to down tier while also knowing that as a whole, top 6 picks are elite. Both of those are true. There's little to no difference, though, however. Let's go to the middle range. This middle range tells all to me. There's almost no difference between picks 107 and 203. Look at the cornerstone hit rate. At the 107 through 109, 50%. 110 through 112, 45%. 201 through 203, 45%. It is literally a straight line from 107 to 203, meaning over that period of time, over this 7 years in this data set, you are just as likely to hit on a cornerstone piece at the 203 as you are at the 107.
Yep. And I think another important thing here too is seeing that drop off after the 203. Look, if you're targeting 24 seconds, I'm trying to get those early ones from the 201 to the 203. I know the price is going to be a little bit more, but it's going to pay off, especially when you do it earlier in the off season before people really realize this. But if you're getting a pick, even the 204, even the 205, 206, like a mid-second there, there is not much difference between the 204 and the 212. There's 10% actually. A 10% difference. So keep that in mind when you're making those deals, when you're shipping off old veterans that may still have some production left in the tank, but you're trying to get some younger assets. If someone's offering you the 206, they're smart, and you need to be smarter, and you need to say, that's not much better than the 212.
So again, those early seconds, in a normal year, those early seconds needed to be treated like late first. This year, they really need to be treated like late first. Like, really needed to. Like, you're trading back into the second round all the time this year. All the time you're doing that. The data supports it in a normal year. In a year where you have a class this deep with this much talent and this many prospects threatening to go in the first round of the NFL draft on Thursday night, you are absolutely trading back into the second as much as you can, because it's not about the talent that you're getting at the 107 or 203. Again, the data is the same there. It's about the talent that you're adding in a down tier trade. Because the difference from a value perspective, let's just throw this right now off the cuff through the trade calculator and keep trade cut. Let's see what we can bamboozle people into doing today. The 107, if you type it into keep trade cut, in the 203, and you say, okay, what are the players to even trade here? You're going to get Stephon Diggs.
Devon Achane.
Yeah.
Another early second.
Let's see. Rashee Rice right now. Holy smokes. Reminds me of the plane crash video with the Chinese name. Bing ding ow. Will Levis.
We too low.
Cooper Kupp. Gosh. Let me keep looking. Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is in this range.
Oh my gosh. What?
So you can get Kirk Cousins in the 203 for the 107, and you have the same odds of hitting on a player at the 203 as you do the 107.
Yes.
And I mean, this is good.
Yes.
So again, you talked about the seconds, but let's look at one thing real quick. Let's look at third round picks, because one thing that stood out to me when I was looking at the general rookie picks graph, or that's not a graph, general rookie picks table here on the screen, is that 25%, a quarter of third round picks were startable. A tenth of them were elite. I mean, that's
impressive.
That's pretty good odds.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a third, like thirds, in my opinion, like I've even in the past been like, yeah, it's a third, it's a whatever, blah, blah, blah. Throw them around like pennies. But now, a third is a pretty valuable lottery ticket.
Yeah, and I think what we should specify here is you are much better off taking a shot on a running back in the third round than you are a wide receiver. So historically, the hit rates for a wide receiver in the third round of a rookie draft is very, very, very low. I mean, think about how many wide receivers go after the second round in a rookie draft every single year.
Yeah.
At best, you're getting one of those players, you're hitting on one of those players, and another one ends up being considered a cornerstone asset.
Yes.
That's really, really low. We've talked about the volatility of the running back position and how much it sucks right now in Dynasty to deal with that position. That really only applies when you own a running back who's a proven veteran running back, because you know they could lose value at any time. The best part about the volatility of running backs is this right here, is your rookie draft. Is you taking a shot on a day 3 running back who, given the right situation, could end up drastically increasing in value within the first couple of years of being in the league.
I mean, if you haven't already, go watch our running back strategy video we released earlier this week, and you're going to see I go through all of the past classes on the Bakery, which is the analytical model by Ryan Bread, and I list 8 to 10 running backs from each class that had value at some point.
It's a very, very easy, risk-free way to just get those small value wins. I mean, talk about small value wins being the most important thing especially as a rebuild.
Absolutely.
when you're building through the draft, like this is the way to do it. And you don't draft these players to keep them.
So basically, also there is this takeaway. Assets on your roster that have little to no chance to become startable assets, you should trade them for a third as quickly as possible. Collect the frick out of those suckers, okay? So between that and the second round pick hit rate you're seeing in some of this data, I'm collecting seconds and thirds in this year's draft like nobody's business. Get the waste off your roster and go play the lottery. But for the second round, it's not even a lottery. Look, there's a 1/3 startable rate in the second round. That's like, if there's a lottery out there that has a 1/3 chance of me winning it, I would love to play it. Send me the link. Because that's not a lottery at all. That's like, okay, I'm going to get 4 rookie picks here. I'm going to get me 2 starters.
Yep.
That's impressive. So let's talk about a position we haven't talked about yet. Let's talk about quarterback. I'll let you talk about quarterback. Quarterback is interesting. Up to now, this has all been Superflex and 1 QB applicable. The picks change a little bit in 1 QB, but the positional strategy still applies. So quarterbacks.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest, I don't want to say lies. I want to say one of the biggest misunderstandings that we've come to believe in Dynasty Fantasy Football is how low the hit rate is for a QB drafted in the first round of the NFL draft from a Dynasty Fantasy Football perspective, from a value perspective. Number one, keep in mind that a hit in Dynasty Fantasy Football for a quarterback is a hit rate is much higher than the hit rate for actual real life quarterbacks in the NFL. Okay. Values fluctuate a lot more in Dynasty than they do at the NFL level. You have a hit rate of about 60% for quarterbacks with an elite rate production wise of 40%. So really we can view them as a coin flip, which is not bad when you're talking about like rookies that are unproven that have yet to step on the field. This is regardless of draft position too. Regardless of draft position for your relevant QBs that are being taken in every single rookie draft, that includes first and second round guys, okay? Quarterbacks have the highest hit rate, cornerstone rate, and they should always be taken at ADP. Hands down in Superflex formats, you have to take them at ADP. We just learned our lesson, or we should have last year. How many times have we said this? It doesn't matter what you thought about CJ Stroud last year. There were so many people that said, I have problems with his character potentially.
His S2
I think
score.
he's not it. His S2 score. I think he's dumb.
But he was a value.
He was a value, and you took him at price because you had to. And a lot of people passed up on that, and it cost him big time. He's the third best. I mean, that's like a fairy tale story.
It is.
That's like a happy ending.
We lived it.
We lived it.
I drafted CJ Stroud in the 4th round.
He was my most owned quarterback last year.
I know. And look, so what this means is, in the lesson we can learn from this data,
you take quarterbacks in Superflex at ADP regardless of your team need.
And if
never pass up value.
If they fall more than 2 to 3 spots, this is one of the rare occasions we would tell you to trade up.
Yep.
If you have Drake May falling to the 107 and his ADP is the 104, you are trading up.
It will happen.
You are trading up. We'd never say to trade up. How many times have I told you to trade up? You trade up for a quarterback that falls 3 or 4 spots in ADP. So let's go now. That was by position. And tight end real quick, we'll cover. Tight end are pretty much like running backs. You take them at ADP basically, and then it usually works out.
It's pretty simple.
Let's go now to a philosophy for each round of your rookie draft this year that you can use. This is going to assume that our priorities for team building go as follows. QB, wide receiver, tight end, and running back. Okay, which is typically how you want to build your dynasty team. Let's talk about top 4 picks. Number 1, is there a quarterback at ADP in the top 4? You should take him historically. You should take him. Mm-hmm. Is there a running back at ADP? You should take him unless you need help at every other position because you have that 80% startable rate and that 75% cornerstone rate that you're falling on. This year, not going to be applicable. There's probably not going to be a running back there. Is there a wide receiver at ADP in the top 4? If you really like him, you can take him. This year, I think you can take him and you're going to get away with it in some spots. Otherwise, consider trading down. That top 4, when you're moving out of that top 4 and you're not selecting a quarterback, not selecting a wide receiver this year, trying to get to the 105, 106 really, maybe the 107 this year, but those are typically what you want to follow. Take wide receivers and quarterbacks at ADP, trade down if you're going to select a running back, and then tight ends aren't going to go there.
And let me add one thing to that, that top 4. Mm-hmm. If this is all about ADP. I don't care if you have an issue with Caleb Williams painting his nails.
Which I do.
You do not let him fall past 1. Do not pass up on Caleb Williams in a super flex format past one.
Here's also, I mean, if you're at the 101 and you want to down tier, but you can't, so you've got to pick. You get to pick one of the best assets that is coming to Dynasty Fantasy Football. But listen to me. This is a very practical piece of advice for you people who have the 101 and 102. I got asked this question today, and a lot of people are struggling with this. Like, if I'm at the 101, do I take Marvin Harrison Jr. or Caleb Williams? And you are absolutely 100% this year taking Caleb Williams over Marvin Harrison Jr. because in a Superflex league, he's going to have more value insulation. He's going to have less risk associated with his value in the sense that he can maintain top 15 Dynasty startup value easier than a wide receiver as a rookie can. Easily. Because if you talk about Caleb Williams coming in and score 16 points per game this year, for him, that's achievable, and it's also likely. So when you add both of those together, he's much more likely to maintain his value overall this year than Marvin Harrison Jr. In a Superflex league, you're taking the quarterback. That is our advice to you. You can do whatever you want. It could pay off to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. That's just what we're doing. We are sharing our strategy with you. You are welcome to do it any way you want to. This is what we're doing. This year, there is no question we're taking Caleb over Marvin Harrison Jr.
100%. And when you're looking at the rest of the first round, right, that's the 105 to the 112 in your standard 12-team Superflex formats. If there's a quarterback at ADP, what do we do?
Take him.
You take him. Is there a tight end at ADP? Take him.
Take him.
Is there a wide receiver at ADP? Take him. Is there a running back at ADP? Trade down.
Yep.
That's going to be a tough one this year because of the demand at the running back position, but it very well may pay off.
But again, look at the rates from the 105 to 112 in the second round for running back, elite rate, hit rate, cornerstone rate. Put that table back up. 45 to 30, 15 to 10, 1/3 to 1/5. That is not a significant drop. So again, rest of the first round, you ask yourself, has anybody fallen out of the top four, the consensus top four? Obviously, you're going to take the ADP faller there. Has anybody fallen 2 or more spots? Take the ADP faller there. Mm-hmm. Don't think twice about taking ADP fallers in the 105 to 112. However, 3 positions you take at ADP. With running back, you trade back. If you're at the 110 and the ADP pick is Jonathan Brooks, you're trading back this year to the second. Although I think it's a good idea to trade back in the second round anyways, because our second round strategy now.
Yes.
Has a consensus first rounder, which this happens a lot, has a consensus first round ADP rookie player dropped more than 2 spots below ADP. If he has, you are taking him for sure.
Yeah.
If a first round player falls to you in the second, you take him.
100%.
Is there a QB that is at ADP in the second round? You take the quarterback.
Get ready for that this year.
And be ready for it. Bo Nix, Michael Penix, both candidates to go in the second round. Even J.J. McCarthy if he falls. Be ready for it. Ask yourself, am I fishing for cornerstones or am I building out depth? Because remember, we got the startable rate and the cornerstone rate, and they're different things, and they do signal different strategies based on which one that you are, which category you fall into. Because if you want cornerstones, then you should probably be fishing for wide receiver first, and then tight end, and then running back. And on top of that, you take the ADP fallers first. But if you're building depth, then you're taking the ADP fallers, and then you're taking wide receiver, and then running back, and then tight end, because those flip-flop a little bit. Yeah. So that's the second round. And really, again, we're trying to get into the second round this year, especially the early second round pick, because the 201 through 203 should be treated like late first every year, but especially this year. And then the third round.
The third round is interesting. And it's fun. And it's going to be really fun this year because of the depth of the class. If a player has dropped 5 spots of ADP, you need to take them. Don't say this doesn't happen. Okay, this is the range where you start to see a lot of value outliers. You start to see some reaches and you start to see some fallers. Who did we see fall to the early third last year that we were smashing?
Sam Laporta.
Okay, yes. But Jaden Reed.
Yeah, and also
huge value. Massive. Everyone hated him because everyone had a love affair with Christian Watson. It didn't matter. He had second round draft capital. Is someone offering you a trade back later in the third?
Take it.
I think you should take it.
Because when you're looking at that cornerstone hit rate for the third round, there really isn't a huge drop-off when you get really deep into the third. Mm-hmm. There really isn't.
Yep.
Every third is going to be about the same lottery ticket odds. So.
Yep. And like we alluded to earlier, the best shots that you can take in these late rounds, because of the volatility of the position, which is sometimes bad, sometimes good, especially good for rookies, you got to target running backs at ADP in these ranges. You have the best chance with running backs increasing in value just because of the nature of the position in the NFL.
Running backs have a 1 out of 5 cornerstone rate in the third round compared to wide receivers at 1 of 10.
That is insane.
And this year, this is one of the most important pieces of strategy for your rookie draft this year, because it's a bad running back class, all of these
All of
decent
them are
running
gonna go
back
in this
prospects are
range.
going in the third. You're getting better running back talent
Yep.
than you'd normally get in the third because of the media and because of the anti-hype. We are taking so many running backs in the third. So many. This is the running back round. This is where you take running backs. They have the highest hit rate, the highest elite rate, highest cornerstone rate of any position group in this round by far, not even close.
It just doesn't take much for these guys to increase in value. I mean, you just saw an undrafted guy in Keaton Mitchell last year skyrocket upboards because he had like 1.5 good games.
And, I mean, a good example of this is Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams is one of the 5 that went third, fourth round that ended up being a cornerstone.
Even Zamir White, not a cornerstone, and we don't think he will be.
But he's relevant.
He has not just relevant,
he has value.
Value, like actual value.
Yeah, he does.
That you can capitalize on.
He is a really good example of that. And then last and third round.
Yeah, so tight ends, quarterbacks, and wide receivers should generally be avoided in this range. Like we already said, you have half the chance of hitting on a wide receiver in this range as you do a running back. And quarterbacks that are going in this range, you're starting to look at like late day 2, third round quarterbacks or day 3 guys, and we do not consider those relevant quarterbacks or relevant draft picks. You shouldn't have done it with Desmond Ridder, and we're not going to do it ever again.
Y'all, this is the running back round. We are taking running backs here for sure.
Yep.
So that is a round by round strategy for your rookie draft. Let's wrap this all up. So again, let's do the quick hitters real quick here. Number 1, for wide receivers in the top 4, you should be trading back and trying to take a wide receiver in the other parts of the first round. Running backs, you're taking them not in the first round, more in the second round. You're trading out of the first round of a running back's ADP into the second, and you're taking them everywhere in the third. Okay?
Well, you take them in the first if they're elite, if they're like top 4.
If they're top 4, yeah. I mean, I would just say because we won't have that this year unless something changes.
Unless Benson went
first, which is not impossible. It's not impossible.
I know.
For quarterbacks, again, quarterbacks at ADP, you always take them. The 107, you should be trying to down tier into the early third. Those early seconds should be treated as late first historically. And with that,
107 down tier into the early second.
What did I say?
You said early third.
Oh yeah, don't do that. And then wrapping it up here. So this is just some of our more general rookie draft things that we try not to do. Again, we mentioned the one exception to trading up, but outside of that, we're not trading up. And I think maybe my most important, I'm sure you have your things, but one of my most important things is as soon as I fall in love with a player enough to where I'm starting to try to move up to get him, I'm playing it wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing with emotion. Look, you can play it with emotion. Somebody said, oh, this is a really joyless way to play Dynasty. I can't tell you how much joy we get out of this. We love playing like this. I love thinking analytically. I love playing strategically. I don't need to get emotionally attached to a player. It's fun when I do, but it's also fun when I'm like, you know what? I shouldn't be doing that. I should be looking at it from a value standpoint. We talk so much about value. Do not get emotionally attached to players. When you're drafting, do not look as like, that's my favorite player. I can't wait till he falls. Look at ADP, look at value, and take the value that falls almost in any scenario. And rarely, if ever, trade up in your rookie drafts.
100%. And that brings us to the idea of just the rookie draft ultimately not being a game of prospect analysis. A lot of people think it is. A lot of people do. And let me just say, like with all due respect, if you or we were really actually good and accurate at prospect analysis, then we would be working for the NFL right now.
Period. And there are people in our comments that think they work for the NFL. I had a guy a couple weeks ago talk about how there's going to be always a difference between the value guys and the guys who can evaluate talent. Some random dude.
Guys, the rookie draft ultimately in Dynasty Fantasy Football, like every other aspect of the game, is a game of value.
It's a game of numbers.
You take the assets that might hit, just like the high-profile names at the top, at a discount. Down tiering.
Yes. Down
tiering. Do not rebuild with a contending mindset. It is never about that one player, like Avery said, that you're in love with. It never, ever is. Make sure you're self-checking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you're self-checking. It doesn't take a running back one, a wide receiver one, or a quarterback one to produce like at that level for a year or an entire career for that asset to increase in value at any given point in time in Dynasty. There are a countless number of Dynasty assets that have had significant value at a point in time post rookie draft and have never and never will produce as a wide receiver, running back, or quarterback one.
Yeah.
It'll never happen. But they held value at a point in time, and that's when you can capitalize on that value increase and sell them.
Guys, you are not stuck with the rookies that you draft. The rookies that you draft, you have an entire summer to move them, to trade them, to acquire other rookies. In the preseason, almost every rookie that doesn't produce loses value. I always wait. If I have rookies I want to buy, I wait till the preseason. But you're not. Doesn't mean you're stuck with who you're drafting. So a lot of people are asking me, people aren't making trades. People aren't trading for my picks. What do I do? What do I do? Drafted the players. Like, they're going to come knocking. And when they do, when they come knocking during your rookie draft or after your rookie draft, it's overpay time. And you're getting overpays for the players that people are coming to you to acquire dynasty assets. You have leverage. You have the leverage. And so when you do have the leverage, you're getting small value wins by making people overpay for players that they are reacting emotionally about. That is how you manipulate the market and manipulate your league mates into getting more value than them and having more to spend when it comes August, September, and we can buy into contending assets that will score us points and win our leagues. It's that easy. It is. We do it every offseason. We end up having a ton of value to play with, and we go get the best contending roster we can to win money. And we do it all again the next year.
We build value and we win championships, and that's what we're here to help you do.
And I hope this video gave you a good idea of how to approach your rookie drafts from an analytical standpoint, give you a good idea of how to build your strategy. Look, every rookie draft strategy is going to be different, okay? Your rookie draft strategy may look different than this. You may not agree with this. This is numbers, so some of it is objective. Like, you do have to understand that data is objective, so we're not lying about this. It was very well-performed research. Shout out, Chip. You may choose not to do it. There are a million different ways to win a dynasty league. We do not have the answer, the one-size-fits-all answer to win a dynasty league, because dynasty is like 50% luck when it comes down to winning a championship. So anybody can play dynasty any way they want, do this any way they want, and their opinion is just as valid as Nathan and I's. We do not, again, have a one-size-fits-all equation for how to win a dynasty league. We're sharing with you how we've played Dynasty. We are very passionate about it. We play all the time.
It works pretty dang well.
Obsess over it. And we've had really good success with the strategies we implement. We're just sharing those with you. You are welcome to use them. You are welcome to not. But I hope you got something out of this, and I hope it was useful information for you. Do us a huge favor. This video, we worked really hard on it. And Chip worked really hard on it. In the comments, say thank you, Chip, please, because Chip, we appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much for your research. This was incredible stuff. Chip sent me this research, and I hired him. That's legit what happened. The day he sent it to me, he had a job with Dynasty Domain. Drop a like on this video for Chip, and make sure you're subscribed if you play Dynasty, because if you liked this advice, you will definitely be getting more advice after the rookie draft as well. We are going to have countless videos after the rookie draft helping you win your rookie drafts. Like, this is an important time for Dynasty players. We're here to help you do it. Guys, we appreciate you so much. Kill your rookie drafts. Kill your rookie drafts. We are so excited to help you do it. Appreciate you. See you later.